And cyber is a real domain of power. And cyber is a real domain of power.
Let me finish. You don't have to defend yourself. What I'm trying to say is this.
They're going to love it either way. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I cannot condone. I think Rudy Giuliani should be shot for treason. That is my personal view. At what point do we hold Trump accountable for who he has in his administration? At what point? Because Jared Kushner, a literal agent for foreign power, Russia and Israel, literal, also being advised by Henry Kissinger. That to me is almost unforgivable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is the 6th of July, 2021. It's 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm not in the United States. I am south of the border in Bogota, Colombia, in a very safe section with Jorge Ochoa and the ghost of Pablo Escobar. Patrick, of course, is in, it's a joke. Patrick, of course, is in Florida and Tampa Bay, isn't
it? North of Tampa, right where the hurricane's coming in.
Right where the hurricane's coming in. Yeah. And we're going to talk specifically now.
And Israel is not behind that. If the hurricane shuts me down, we discussed that earlier, Brendon.
I'll fit them in somewhere. Don't worry about that. BB's there. BB's up in the special satellite firing his BB space beam at the hurricane. But one of the things we need to understand, Patrick BERGY, we don't agree on everything, clearly. There's a different direction and aim and focus with Patrick BERGY. We've discussed this. I am not happy with things like, and this is fine. The point I'm trying to make is we can agree to disagree and not hate each other and refuse to speak to each other and say, you're not clean enough for me while I sit in a castle and never interact and get down and dirty. I don't like Tor. I don't like some of the things she says. I think they're terrible. And I think it goes too far. That's my opinion. I don't like some other things. However, I wish Patrick BERGY focused more on Israel, mainly because of his military background. I just always like to see military people who you can push forward. But he doesn't, but he does talk about Israel from time to time, certainly. The point is that I go by my gut, and my gut tells me that Patrick BERGY's all right. And I'm sure someone out there disagrees. I'm sure many do. So you got in touch with me and we wanted to highlight this lawsuit. And one of the things I like about this, I like things other than just talking online. Lawsuits are when you get things on the record. So even in my hate speech trial, I lost, but I never lost. We got rabbis on the stand. Never happened in history. I cross-examined an Orthodox rabbi, Rabbi David Freilich. Never happened. No one appears to care, but anyway, it happened. Professors of Jewish civilization studies, we got stuff on the record. Good or bad, we got it there. Now, Patrick, let's get into your lawsuit. Right now, you are going after Alex Jones for defamation. And the good thing about this, there will be discovery. This isn't happenstance. You've got a lawyer. You can tell people how far it's got along. People could then decide if this is worth investing in. And you can not just say this is just some, give me money. It's solid. The goal, tell us what the goals are, but I presume number one is discovery. Number two is sworn depositions on video, and also the ability to tie in Dr. Steve PIECZENIK and his old boss, Henry Kissinger, when he made statements to do with there was a military coup in the United States and he was talking to generals.
I'm glad you feel the storm come, but quite frankly, the storm was over a year ago when we brought in Trump. What you're seeing now is basically the aftermath of a major storm that had occurred, with no one really understanding how Trump came in and how we and the intelligence community and others had helped to bring Trump to the forefront. The storm is over. Hillary is over. Mueller is over. The FBI is over. The CIA, certain elements are over. That's why Pompeo, who was number one at West Point, was put in. We have several military generals in charge. We have every congressional district. We have a military installation or project. So basically, we're not worried about any Democrats or congressmen. If you look at the map of the United States, we in the intelligence and military community are basically in charge, and Trump is on top of that. And I'm not upset about it, and I'll tell you why. when Alex allowed us to come on the air, we basically said it's all over for Hillary, it's all over for Obama, for Bush Jr. And what we tagged it to.
So why don't you take it from there? I hope people just perk your little interest up, how we can do things other than just talk. Preferably, I love street work. I want to thank, there's other people who've been running around with some of the documents myself and Sufyan did. They edited them up and got them into the hands of people fairly closely associated with the Florida government. And DeSantis, thank you very much. You know who you are. You do some good work. And Patrick, tell us the exact mechanism by which you are going after Alex Jones for this defamation.
Okay, so my attorney, Kelly Sorrell, out of Dallas, and we have great Twitter exchanges on this too. If you go to Patrick BERGY 65, they took my other one down in the political purge that they did back in January. So we filed. What we did is we submitted a demand letter. So if you're going to sue civilly for defamation in Texas, you have to first send a demand letter.
All right. So the good thing is this will be in Austin, Texas, who is not exactly fond of Alex Jones.
I don't know. It's going to be up to Kelly where they actually hold the trial. I will defer to her on anything like that. I personally think Austin would be great, although it's a long drive for her. And she's my attorney, so let's not make this difficult on her, right? Sent the demand letter. They've got, I think, probably about 20, maybe 23 days now. I think it was like a week ago on Friday or something. So depending on what it was for $150 million for defamation. And you can go to freedomstream.tv. And I have it right along the top, the Shadowgate civil lawsuit fund. You click on that. It's got my 103-page affidavit, and it's got a copy of the demand letter. So what we want to do is basically what this trial is it's going to be a referendum on whether or not the claims that I made. It's not about any other claim or any other thing in there, because Alex and all these people were attacking me. And especially, when they just outright discredit a documentary of which you're one of the main subjects of, they're discrediting you, right? So it's going to be a referendum on me and whether or not the claims that I made in Shadowgate were true. And spoiler alert, they were, and all forensically verifiable. Hell, you can verify it on my damn Facebook.
So this is just to clarify for people. This is going ahead. This is has paperwork been served?
Yeah. Kelly, and she posted it even. Yeah, she served the demand letter, and it takes 30 days for the demand letter once she's properly served it. Which she's an attorney in Texas. She's going to know how to properly serve it, right? And then at that 30-day point, assuming they don't contact me or contact her back prior to that 30 days. They may contact her back in a week or tomorrow or whatever, but they have 30 days. And if they don't, then we can go forward immediately as a civil case, right? And once that gets filed as a civil case, because of all the things that are connected to this, right? This is a lawsuit about Shadowgate, but it's a lawsuit about me and Millie Weaver, the producer, exposing taxpayer-funded social media psychological warfare applications that were built to help protect America from foreign threats, and were commercialized and brought back and sold in the U.S. With no oversight or with anything. And in fact, I have strong evidence to show that our number one partner, Paul Manafort, was in fact who
am I? Can I just say that Paul Manafort is as dodgy as you can get. When I say dodgy, I mean low life fraudster dodgy, like drug money laundering on the record, bank accounts in Crete and Malta, and hanging with the absolute oligarchs of oligarchs out of the Ukraine and Russia. All right, this is as low as you go.
They had a DC lobby. They were campaign managers. They were Imelda Marcos's PR people when she fleeced billions of dollars.
Well, that's one of many.
From the impoverished Filipinos. She basically said, "Get me Roger Stone," and so I don't. We all have I have my sins, right? I've spent years overseas doing things for my government, not things for a DC lobby, not intentionally anyway. But so I'm not holding them against bad choices, right? But what I am wanting is accountability for the actions that happened as they relate directly to the release of Shadowgate. And if it had anything to do, if Roger Stone had anything to do with influencing the firing of Milley, which contributed, of course, to further discredit Shadowgate. I need to know these things. But there are a lot of other connections to this, right? Like I said, USA Today and PolitiFact use that. PolitiFact was connected to Facebook through their Facebook fact check program, right? Well, and if you're going to be editing this and then put up a little bit later some of the things I put up in my tweet, put it in there and show that Facebook partnered with General James Jones through the Atlantic Council for their fact check program. So not only was PolitiFact doing that pants on fire, which was everything they said and based it on were lies, and they, at least about me. And so, which I can verify. I can't verify anything else. I can only verify what I spoke to. I met Milley and Gavin and Tori for the first time, July 4th, one year ago. I had no idea who they were. I only know my story. I'm a whistleblower from 2015. I've been trying to do my job, right? So, and defend our national security, because that's what I was hired to do. And some people tried circumventing that, and they did a pretty darn good job, and they did it in a really sleazy, just astonishingly dirty way. And they did it to cover up crimes. So in my attempt to expose that, that's when I discovered, much like I guess Trump did when he actually got into office, that's when I discovered the depth and level of corruption in our government. And then I saw the depth of corruption between our government, the military-industrial complex, and mainstream media, journalism, social media influencers, and this was problematic because these are the exact same capabilities I was helping to create the capabilities for. I can never say what we may or may not have done in a classified thing. Again, I'm not going to violate anything like that. I don't need to. I can tell you what we made it for commercially available. But when I see all of these connections and I see all these people doing these things to me, and I see Alex Jones's reaction, and then you start showing connections to these people that I had no idea of, and I'm going, holy Jesus, this has all been a setup, right? So we got to figure out why, because the same people that attacked Shadowgate to discredit it are the same people that are being looked at by the FBI as inciting the January 6th misdirection and insurrection.
I'm just thinking, Patrick, can I just
Yes, sir.
push this past you? I like that. Say yes, sir, again.
Yes, sir.
No, I hate it. What America's got 20-year-olds calling me sir from the United
Show
States.
you respect, boss. I do respect you. It's not like you and I or other people, and trust me, you and I are not that far off on most of the things that you talk about. You just have more knowledge on it than I do, and I'm honest about that, right? But I listen to people like you and other people, and when I find things that connect, I kind of like note them, and then if they help connect enough points and they build enough, then I start taking closer looks at it, right? But if we don't speak to other people, if we couldn't put together the Sunni and Shia they would have never, there would be no Iraq right now. AQI would have absolutely wiped it out and taken it over. So that's one of the arguments I have with like with what General Flynn's doing, and Alex Jones and all these other people pushing the like the Proud Boy movements and stuff. Those are friends of mine. Those are good patriots. I'm not in any way dissing the Proud Boys in any way, shape, or form, right? Please just cut that shit out if you're going to say it. I'm trying to say, I think just like with the awakening, Al Qaeda put people into the Sunnis, put people into the Shias, and then blew everybody up indiscriminately. And they put these up. They didn't infiltrate the fucking PFCs. They put these up in the leadership. And I think there are leadership within these patriot organizations that need to be closely looked at as having, motives different, like through military industrial complex, New World Order, retired generals doing whatever the fuck they want. Yes,
Patrick,
sir.
the Proud Boys were started by Gavin McGuinness and others. Canada.
They were started by Gavin McGuinness,
right.
who is apparently a Canadian IIA asset, which I would add
who's
is
not a fan of Trump.
after a gay musical.
It's a gay musical. That's why Roger Stone loves it so much. And I just want to ask, how are they still going? Surely everyone's worked it out by now that the Proud Boys is a fake setup, funded operation.
Yeah.
No, they haven't worked it out yet.
No, they're still going because
that's
what
fake
I've
as
been
Antifa.
trying to warn people about is actually true. They use these capabilities. They use fake profiles. They use tactical coordination from people to people. I've got emails and receipts and such with people discussing these transactions on there's 5,000 here to create a video to destroy this perfectly good person, but just fake it and destroy them. And here's five. This is what our social media has become. And they use these things to try to go after people like me, but I'm a really hard target for them to deal with because, I'm the first one to say I'm a soup sandwich, right? I can verify, though, everything that I'm saying. So if you want to come at me personally, I'm as flawed as anybody. But if you want to stop and take a look at what I'm saying and go, holy shit, what he's saying is true. Holy shit, the guy he built the shadow net for partnered with Facebook to restore election integrity worldwide, to combat fake news. The same people that killed all the the same General James Jones, the guy that put the partnership together, the guy I built the shadow net for, which was designed to destroy election integrity. He literally was the person at the chairman of the board of Atlantic Council. And Atlantic Council partners with Facebook to do that. And these are like government grant things. Taxpayers are paying for this. And so the people that chose whose accounts to kill on January 6th are the people I'm trying to expose. And I can't figure out for the life of me why people like Alex Jones, why people like General Flynn and others, right? Why they don't help me do this, but instead they attack me. A sergeant at arms of with one of the security organizations with General Flynn created a fake a fake article, used a fake text message saying that from a babysitter that he completely fabricated out of thin air, saying that I had molested my daughter when she was 10 years old and that she was coming forward right now as some sort of a babysitting whistleblower 12 years later. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was in Afghanistan and then went straight from Afghanistan, and I could show you my damn passport. There's no stamp in America and then hugging and kissing my family like I would have loved to have done. No, it was me going straight from fucking Afghanistan to South Korea. So this piece of shit working for General Jones, not General Jones, General Flynn under him, does something like that to me. And Sidney Powell, she had my affidavit, and she elevates Ali Akbar, the guy that's attacking Shadowgate, the guy that's literally in my affidavit that she has of election influence. She's elevating him on a platform, and they're burying my story. I want to know why. because I see when I was working IIA from really 2007 to 2010, between Iraq, Afghanistan, I was in Kabul working with Leone. I have an understanding of how these organizations work, and they're basically going out of the playbook. Not they're going out of the playbook of Al Qaeda, right? They're doing what Al Qaeda in Iraq did, AQI did to the Sunnis and Shias. They're infiltrating their organizations. They're creating chaos. They want these groups to fight, right? Whereas the Sunni awakening, we brought people together, right? We used faith, truth, and knowledge, right? Three things. And that's how we brought people together. We didn't try to get a Sunni to become a Shia, or Shia to become a Shia to become a Sunni, right? We got them to understand that put your differences aside, because these assholes are trying to blow all of us up right now, right? And it worked. And so when you look in the years from now, or even now, in war colleges, I am absolutely certain battles, cyber battles that were fought defending our country, or defending the Awakening Council, who were being attacked and blown up. If we're able to help talk a kid out of strapping on a suicide bomb and blowing up these members of the councils or something. I'm just saying, for example, I'm just making that up. I'm not saying that ever did or didn't happen, but I'm saying if we could do something like that, then that's a good thing. And there are absolutely people out there that will tell you the work that we did in supporting the PAO contributed significantly to the reduction of violence, to where Obama could come in 2009 and pull us out. Now, he didn't do a SOFA agreement, right? So that screwed everything. And Dynology, when we lost the contract,
can I just add in, weren't they working with General Soleimani too at that time? Iran was heavily involved in this process.
Yes. Well, Iran's always been involved with those guys, but so yeah, right. Let me, I don't know why I didn't vibrate my phone there. That's good.
Also, too, I don't want to put you off, but Sidney Powell, I mean, I think it's time people worked out what a lying piece of garbage she is. Her Supreme Court documents were a joke. I'm no lawyer, but I know the law basically. I read that. It looked like 12-year-old gossip. It was ridiculous. The wording was ridiculous. A friend who's 20 years a paralegal, she said, have you read it? I said, no, I haven't looked. She said, go and read it. It's terrible. I'd get fired. This is tens of millions of dollars. Top lawyers, and she defended Enron. I mean, if you ever wanted to defend the biggest rats, she was defending Enron. Now, how the hell Ali Akbar, Sidney Powell, everyone around Trump is a piece of garbage. Everybody.
Well,
when's it going to stop?
But okay, let me stop you there, or at least add some context to some things, right? Not stop you, but add some context. Every attempt that I've made by people, even Rudy Giuliani, although Rudy Giuliani, you can give me shit. I give anybody shit who's giving me shit. I'll call them out. Rudy Giuliani's been nothing but good to me, and I've exhibited nothing from him but a willingness to try to help. Right. But it was a soup sandwich, the whole thing going on down there. Patrick Byrne as well. Right. Very good man. I got really, I didn't like what he had to say, but he was at least honest about it. So bravo. Right. We can have an honest conversation. But I might not like what you have to say, but it's better when people who I trust just tell me whatever the fuck I want to hear to shut me up, and then I never hear from them again. That's just not honorable.
No, and that's good. I understand that. It's like prison officers. It's like prison officers. I love the ones that told me to get effed. Yeah. And would slam the window in my face and say F off. I love them. It's the ones who went, sure, O'Connell, I'll pass that paperwork on for you, no problem.
Well, there you go. Right.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sure. Right. But you got, but then Patrick Byrne would go after Rudy Giuliani. And fine, I'm going to.
I have to tell you, Rudy
Giuliani. I actually think, I can only tell you my personal experience, which apparently sounds different than Patrick's, but that's okay. Maybe, he responded differently. Maybe I used a different, I don't know. But these are all good people trying to do good things. But I think a lot of them are getting manipulated by some pretty well coordinated, completely covert tactical influence operations, right? At a very high level. And of course, you go to that video, and I hope you can like insert that video of Steve PIECZENIK and Alex Jones, right? In this, to where people can see literally they sit there and they explain that I'm telling you the truth, they say. I was contacted by these generals out of SOCOM. Oh, wait a minute. I worked for SOCOM, right? At the same time. So, okay, what were the names of these generals? I don't know. He's not going to say the names of generals, but they wanted to recruit him. They were working. They told him they were working with Trump and stuff. Okay, they probably did. That doesn't mean they were working with Trump. Actually, the only evidence that I have that Trump was that where Trump was offered to use IIA was the Psy Group through Manafort, if I'm not mistaken, and some pedophile guy, oddly enough. And so Trump turned it down. He turned down, and that's in the Mueller report. So who's to say that Trump didn't do the same damn thing with a bunch of retired generals or even active duty generals said, hey, we got a problem and we can't figure it out any other way than to commit treason and try to overthrow our government through a coup, through a counter coup. Actually, I can think of a lot of other ways that they could have done this, right? As an information assurance security officer. And yeah, I get it. The system is corrupt, but it's not totally broken. And if you just throw it out the window like that, I don't see it anywhere near that. I see all this stuff being amplified through new technology, through that thin thread that these guys have taken advantage of, that these guys have put partnerships together. I helped do it over about the last decade or so with organizations like Facebook, with organizations like Twitter, with social media influencers, with organizations like InfoWars. I'm just saying, I got to get proof. I'll find proof pretty easily, right? And you can look at the connections that we already have to all these people. Oh my God. Getting to discovery actually isn't going to be too difficult, I don't think. But they're not going to want to do it because there's so many other people that are involved. I have questions for everybody, right? Why were the same people that are now involved with Alex Jones, that are now involved with Roger Stone, doing these events, doing these things? Why did these people keep my affidavit in like November, December, January from Trump? I would like to know that. Or I want to find out for sure if Trump ever got it, right? And if he didn't get it, then that proves what I believe were active measures with people around Trump to keep this information, the information that could have been exposed in Shadowgate from away from him, or at least how closely it connected. Shadowgate 2 really exposed the closer connections to directly to Trump's organization, what was going on, like with Ali Akbar, right? And all we did was we exposed people that took knowingly fake information, attacked us with it for no reason. I didn't know who this Ali Akbar was. I never met him. He called me a junkie veteran and said that it was like that it was satanic. Are you kidding me? But then he in other comments, he's talking about how he's done work for the Mercers. And then we find out that he worked
whoa. He said more than that.
Campaign, the same people Manafort was working with and Dynology was working with.
Well, he said more than that. Little tiny prancer, Ali Akbar. They were close. He was doing work like, it wasn't just like a casual work thing. He was doing a lot of work for the Mercers, he said, according to him.
Okay, according
He's
to
the
him.
Hammer. You remember Urkel? What was that?
They called me the Hammer.
Did I do that?
This man, Ali Alexander.
No! We'll light the whole shit on fire.
Before the Washington riot, he was in Georgia creating mayhem with Alex Jones to overturn the presidential election.
And make no mistake, this is the globalist takeover. Either they see Trump, prove that they won, or we're not going to hand them back the country in January, right? No! We'll light the whole shit on fire.
And who was Alexander working with?
USA! USA!
The Georgia Republican Party and the National Republican Senatorial Committee. That's right, Ali Alexander, hate monger, convicted felon. And here he is yucking it up with a Nazi, the official partner of the Georgia Republican Party, working with the GOP to lead a door-knocking operation in Georgia. And here's Alexander in Washington.
And it was that Wall Street Journal headline, Alex Jones.
Because Alex, I'm just going to confess it on air. I probably would have committed suicide. Just honestly, probably shouldn't be saying this on air, but they got this close to having Ali Alexander commit suicide. What they have done to me.
I'm falling, I can't get out!
We'll light the whole shit on fire.
We all know that you are acquainted with Robert David Steele, and there's a photograph of you with Robert David Steele.
Yes.
Standing under a portrait of, is it Theodore Roosevelt?
Yes, it's at P.J. Clark's restaurant here in Washington, D.C. And the picture is 100% authentic. We had a very pleasant dinner together. We talked, global strategy.
Yes.
The highest levels of the Marine Corps and the Army in those special operations levels, the individuals are actually in the mob. New Jersey.
You're talking about the mafia type mob?
I'm talking about the Brooklyn, New Jersey mob.
Roger's relationship with Cohn was in part mentor. Cohn had a slice of history and a circle of friends that would not have necessarily been part of our orbit. It's how we met Trump.
Donald Trump is probably one of the most important names in America today. He is, as I say, the closest thing to a genius I've ever met in my life.
I had a lawyer who was a very good lawyer, tough lawyer, named Roy Cohn. He introduced me at one point to Roger Stone. Roy thought Roger was a very tough guy. Roy knew some very tough guys, I will tell you that, but Roy always felt that Roger was not only tough, but a smart guy and very political.
Roger's the first one who introduced us to Donald. And Donald was one of our clients at Black Manafort Stone in the early 80s and was a client of ours for a long time.
My husband, Al Gray, Sheehan, they're all Brooklyn. Cap Weinberger. The Heinz Kissinger, there's the Boston mob, which was shipping weapons back and forth to Northern Ireland. And I don't want to get too deeply involved in that, but it goes Israel. Some of the Zionists who came over from Germany.
In der 1871 erstmals verkündeten Vereinigten Deutschen.
Henry Kissinger was a well-known, totally a homosexual, not even both ways.
And so his wife is a marriage of
oh, it's just a convenience.
convenience.
Yeah, and he might, maybe he's discovered women in his late age, I don't know. But
And while we're still on Kissinger, why did no one notice in the alt media that Jared Kushner was literally an agent of Kissinger and Associates in the White House who wanted Kissinger as Secretary of State after Tillerson? You got to be kidding me. Here are some great quotes for you from Michael Wolff's book, Siege, Trump Under Fire, in chronological order. Quote, the president had often threatened to dump his Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, whom he had quickly soured on, and replace him with Kushner. Kushner told friends he thought it was too soon. Kissinger had advised him to wait, counseling him to put his name first on a major initiative. You know, it would have been nice to know for a lot of Americans that Henry Kissinger was front and center in that White House. That's the Trump administration. Not everyone wanted to read Michael Wolff's non-bipartisan, harsh critiques of Trump. Some of us remember a time when Kissinger was persona non grata. Remember when he was pushed as head of the 9/11 Commission, and the howling from the public from every corner of the political spectrum soon sent him scurrying. It appears everyone has forgotten. Anyway, the book goes on. Quote, but the Chinese saw opportunity. During the meeting in April 27 at Mar-a-Lago between Trump and President Xi, a meeting shepherded by Kissinger and Kushner, they had been amazed at Trump's openness, capriciousness, and lack of basic information. Quote, not long after his father-in-law's election, Kushner, encouraged by Rupert Murdoch, whom he had befriended when they were neighbors in a Trump-branded building on Park Avenue, reached out to Henry Kissinger for advice and counsel. Kushner had decided that he would take an official position in the Trump White House and that, given his family ties, he would be able to forge a role for himself as a great conduit to the president. Quote, Kushner saw Kissinger as a key to his great leap forward. The older man, he was then 94, was flattered by the younger man's attentions. Kushner was not just deferential and solicitous, he enthusiastically embraced the Kissinger doctrine, the belief that mutual interest ought to form the basis for sagacious moves on the international chessboard in the quest for ultimate advantage. Quote, Kushner, without illusions about his father-in-law's lack of interest in foreign policy matters, saw himself, as Kissinger had once seen himself, as the wiser and more focused advisor to a less sophisticated president. And while others might think Kissinger had become an elderly gas bag and that he was, as ever, a shameless social climber, Kushner believed that Kissinger could provide him with special advantage in his new Washington world. Quote, Kushner dropped his new friend's name shamelessly. Henry says, I was just talking to Henry. I'd like to get Henry's take on that. Hey, let's loop Henry in. Jared's uncle Henry was Ivanka's perhaps not entirely approving designation. For Kissinger, still globetrotting, still at work at Kissinger and Associates most days, still social climbing, the startling opportunity at his advanced age was to become the key advisor to one of the most significant foreign policy players, perhaps the most significant foreign policy player in the US government. Quote, and the essential point, as Kissinger explained to friends, was that Kushner, with zero experience in international relations, was a blank slate. In the weeks after the election, Kissinger went out of his way to widely praise Jared's willingness to listen and the quickness with which he learned. Kushner, for his part, praised Kissinger's unfaltering acuity and renewed relevance in a complicated world. Kushner even floated the suggestion of Kissinger as Secretary of State, relaying the idea back to Kissinger. Trump told people that Kissinger was in full support of his hope for a new friendship with Russia, saying that Kissinger regarded Vladimir Putin with, quote, fantastic respect, loves him. How interesting. When we think of Putin, we should know where he came from, and the book Putin's People, How the KGB Took Back Russia and Then Took on the West by Catherine Belton is a great place to start, especially describing Kissinger's friendship with Jewish Soviet GRU General Mikhail Neustein and his desperate role in technology transfer. The ties that bind run deep. But back to the Kissinger quote in Wolff's book. Quote, Jared Kushner came into the White House believing that he could initiate and represent a new generation of cool, Kissinger-esque precision in foreign policy, with Kissinger himself encouraging Kushner to believe this. Quote, a few months before the Khashoggi murder, however, Kissinger had attended a luncheon hosted by a small group of influential New York lawyers. Kissinger brought Rupert Murdoch along. Both men had aided in the rise of Jared Kushner and, quite despite their better instincts, both had urged an open mind regarding the Trump administration. Kissinger's attitude for most of Trump's first year or so had been that beyond the nasty rhetoric and the fact that nothing particularly positive had happened, nothing particularly negative had occurred in the White House management of the US global role either. So give Trump and his people a chance. But now, at the lunch, and with Murdoch, arms crossed, nodding his approval, a disgusted Kissinger ripped Trump and Kushner in the most fundamental and visceral way. Quote from Kissinger, the entire foreign policy is based on a single unstable individual's reaction to perceptions of slights or flattery. If someone says something nice about him, they are a friend. If they say something unkind, if they don't kiss the ring, they are our enemy. Now, this quote may give credence to the fact Trump was indeed a fluke getting in and became a bull in a china shop, no pun intended, with 15 different factions fighting for the accidental president's ear. The book goes on, just one more, and this is one of my faves. Quote, encouraged by Kushner, MBS went on a wide-ranging investment and business outreach tour to the United States. Along the way, David Pecker, Trump's publishing friend, was promised Saudi money for his company, AMI. So was Trump's apprentice agent, Ari Emanuel, for his company, WME. So was Trump and Kushner's favorite businessman, Steven Schwarzman, the CEO of Blackstone, the private equity group who got $20 billion from the Saudis for a new investment fund. Now we all remember Blackstone, don't we? Now you'll remember that Blackstone is the giant hedge fund that owns just about everything on the planet, along with another hedge fund, Vanguard, Rothschild's babies. Good to know
They are the DC swamp reformers, failed businessmen. I mean, everyone around the Trump administration at this stage is a swamp creature. So I'm not sure how Trump is going to clean out the swamp. I think we all worked that out a while back, but I just didn't click how bad it really, really was.
Every person in China that's ever fought for freedom you knew about, and you worship at the foot of a totalitarian dictatorship. There's blood on your hands, and trust me, to my last breath, we're going to hunt you down and expose it all, and we're starting with Kissinger.
Perhaps you can understand.
Right? Bada bing, bada boom. I won't, if you're close to him or helping him, that's freaking blackmail. That's threatening people. That's extortion, coercion. If he does that shit now with this court case, and it's kind of funny because people are like attacking my online profile and stuff, and they'll be clearly just newly created accounts from his great meme wars, right? That he talks about, and he'll, so I'll be like, okay, snap, I want to get a judge to give us court orders to see the IPs on these to make sure that these aren't people connected to the case that are trying to use intimidation and such, right? So it's going to get interesting. And people are like literally deleting their tweets when I post that and say that. They're like, oh shit, right? Which kind of tells me I'm on the right track with that, but we'll find out. We'll find out.
No. I like legal cases, and they don't have to cost a fortune. People don't realize.
But one thing, and I'm sorry I need to talk and all, but one thing, this is good stuff, right? One thing that I think that I'm trying to that I know we're going to see, and look for this. The moment the case is filed, I believe teleprompters worldwide are going to change. You will see a change in the content that they put out, because these connections, these partnerships, memorandums of understandings that they put together to create these partnerships beyond FOIA requests and things like that. You're not going to figure these out. These things right here are going to fall apart because of the potential of discovery, right? So everything for sure at this point forward could potentially be discovered. And so those very thin threads that they use to connect social media to control, if you look at, oh, by the way, the girl that I think it's Katie Harbath, the girl from Facebook that put the partnership together with Atlantic Council. Her former job, she was like one of the chief of staff for Karl Rove. Interesting, right? So, so the people that at Facebook, that you think are all these liberals,
which is George W. Bush, which is CIA, which is directly into all that stuff.
Okay, thank you. Right. So these are going to be questions I need to have answered because this looks like fucking treason.
Well,
how do you spell it out any better?
Right? At any other time.
This is not how you solve this problem. We have courts. If they had information that Hillary Clinton was doing this shit, they needed to take that. These are very powerful, influential people. Steve PIECZENIK, what was he like? The deputy secretary of state or something, secretary of defense, something. He was he's a very powerful individual. He could take this information, expose what they're doing, hold them accountable. And I get they have a powerful network in place.
Well, the model, let me be very frank. I have never been an aficionado of the Constitution. The reason for it, it's outdated. And what's happening now is we're coming into a new realism, a hyper-realism, where the states become more important. The devolution of power from the federal government, I told you, it's happening very quickly. It will go on to Pence. From Pence, it will go on to Ivanka or Jared Kushner. And we will remain a viable country and a great country. I have no fear.
Perhaps you can understand.
But they do too, and they didn't have to do it And if they, okay, let's say they had to do it. Did they have to do it using the Al Qaeda's playbook? Couldn't they have used, the awakening method,
Patrick,
where you literally brought two groups together?
1 second.
Hmm?
Kissinger was PIECZENIK's boss, and Paul Bremer was the head of Kissinger and Associates. Paul Bremer set Iraq on fire. People forget this. You remember, this is why I liked Flynn initially, because he was one of the generals that came out spewing about Bremer and the disaster in Iraq. He said we had it all sorted. We had everyone was on board. We were ready to go. And Bremer just said, nope, sack everyone. Cheney, Rumsfeld, sack everyone, no Ba'ath Party. And they said, if you do this, you will create a giant insurgency. You're going to kill Americans. You're going to kill Iraqi. And Bremer said, we're doing it anyway. That's the 2IC of Kissinger and Associates. Yet again, we find Henry Kissinger. Here's the problem I have. It's very complicated. Some days Trump's a fraud to me, and sometimes he's so out of control, clearly. No one can handle him. Even Kissinger gave up. Every book you will ever read and every critique said the entire White House was chaos from beginning to end. So if it's a cunning plot by the Rothschilds via Kissinger to put Trump in, they should have got a better actor. But Kissinger was in that White House the whole time, advising Jared Kushner. Here's the biggest problem I have. When will Donald Trump take responsibility for his lack of action, and in particular, watching the social media being split up like it did when he was the commander-in-chief, was the executive dictatorial powers, and he could have done any one of 100 things, including with his vast network, taken YouTube or funded YouTubers to court to end YouTube's out-of-control censorship of everything, Twitter's out-of-control censorship, and he sat there and did nothing and twiddled his thumbs. People have a right to know, at what point do we explain Kissinger advising Kushner? Admittedly, Bannon wanted him out and Bannon lost the battle, and then Bannon went after Kissinger, which was a miracle. I couldn't believe it when he did for 3 solid months. Then he's indicted on charges. But when does Trump take responsibility as the commander-in-chief, as a man who is renowned for being in control and you're fired and all the rest?
Jim, I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here.
You're fired. 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 You're fired.
When do we stop making excuses, and when do we have to admit that when you got Kissinger in the damn White House the whole time, when you're swearing to God you're going to clean out the swamp, and you've actually got the biggest swamp creature on the planet in the White House advising Jared Kushner, who's a literal foreign intelligence asset for Russia and Israel, and a literal lunatic cult called Chabad Lubavitch, at what point do we say Donald Trump is compromised?
Well, Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, his election is what exposed all of these rats. Right.
Well, this is look. I just want to clarify. This is where I'm confused, because then I go, man, he just absolutely killed him. Oh wow! And then the next day, something else happens, and it's like, what the hell's going on? It was like there was this huge backwards and forwards going on in this White House.
So, like, again, whether you love him or hate him, right? His election, that one event, and we can debate everything that happened from that day forward, but that one event allowed me to see what was happening. When I filed my complaint in 2015, I was this naive patriot. I enlisted at the age of 39. I was the first 40-year-old to complete basic training in the history of Fort Benning, right? So I'm just like this idealistic patriot trying to do his thing. Had a nice wife, home, minivan, couple kids, and I thought that my government would protect me and stand up behind me if I was doing if I did the job they hired me to do, which was an information assurance security officer. And some bad people did some bad things, and when I reported it, they modified the contract that I was on for 5 years, removing only the requirements for my position. And then within a couple days after me being forced to leave, they modified it back to the original requirements, and they replaced me. And that was after I had filed a protected disclosure. So I thought I was protected as a contractor, but apparently Hillary Clinton didn't include subcontractors if there was a catch to it, right? It was just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So I kind of figure at this point that the IG or it's just a honeypot for honest people, so that these guys can continue with their corruption. Right? They did nothing post Snowden to fix the problem. In fact, I would argue, no, I mean, the one thing that they did do to try to fix the problem was they built ClearForce, right? So
didn't they put a actually I think it was your friend Tor. Didn't your friend Tor say they put all the servers overseas? So technically,
that wasn't Tory, right? That was you can see the contracts that Gavin puts up in Shadowgate 2, right? So you can look at the contracts for yourself that show where the servers and such, and that was actually for the CKMS, not for ClearForce. CKMS, there's a good one for you, right? In like March of 2009, less than a month after President Obama swears General Jones in for his national security advisor, his son Jim Jones is trademarking through Dynology, their family-owned business, the letters CKMS and for Congressional Knowledge Management System or whatever it is, right? So they trademarked that like a month after. And then like just a couple months after he resigns in like 2010, 2011, lo and behold, Dynology gets the contract for CKMS. Oh, hey, lucky for us, we've got the trademark for it, right? So, nothing to see here. Now Greg Craig, who's involved with some shifty shit with Manafort, right? He was actually indicted by Mueller with Manafort. Remember, Greg Craig? That was Obama's White House lawyer. That guy had two jobs. He was the White House counsel for President Obama and for Obama's national security advisor, which would have been General Jones. Greg Craig would have been the one who would have had to sign off on the Shadownet. And next thing we know, he's running around Ukraine with Paul Manafort, getting looked at and indicted for by Mueller for the same thing that I'm trying to tell people it's happening to him right now, but nobody will listen, right? Even with all the evidence right in front of you there. So yeah, great. ClearForce was a great benefit from that, but they don't protect you. And all I'm trying to do now is to fix the problem from 2015, which has grown enormously. Trump couldn't have known this. I couldn't any more than I did. So I don't hold Trump accountable for a lot. These are problems that have been going on and happening and building up in our government for decades, and nobody's done anything about it, right?
Well, this is the thing, and everyone's got an opinion. Everyone has a very firm opinion, and I must admit, my firm opinion has been shaken both ways. One of the things I noted with the Trump administration in his favor as an outsider was the total chaos that ensued. Every memoir, every accounting is chaos, 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 call sign chaos. Nothing was ready. No one was ready to go. No one knew what was going on. So I presumed if it was a big plan, it looked to me like no one expected him to win. And no one did expect him to win. In fact, Donald Trump didn't expect to win.
No, he didn't.
It's pretty clear there's something very strange going on, trying to work it out. But one of the things you interestingly raised, which no one seems in an age of Q drops and alien invasions.
Flying saucers.
Come on, man. And everything else, change the lead, change the story. It's not a new concept. Wag the dog, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman.
Look, don't worry about it. It's nothing new. During Reagan's administration, 240 Marines killed in Beirut. 24 hours later, we invade Grenada. That was their MO. Change the story, change the lead. It's not a new concept. Change the story, change the lead. It's not a new concept.
The former head of NATO, SACEUR, General Jim Jones, your old boss, head of Dynology, is running an election interference company, private company. He's working Obama. I'm just, his sons. Well, I
made the flyer.
Yeah. So Cambridge Analytica was hounded to death. Mm-hmm. But apparently when the former head of NATO, Marine Psychological Warfare Operations, SACEUR, has a private company interfering in elections, there's not a peep.
Oh, which, by the way, he's directly connected to Cambridge Analytica through Wikistrat, through, okay, you can say it, an Israeli named Joel Zamel. Are you happy? I said something about Israel. Joel Zamel, Wikistrat, Psy Group. Psy Group is directly connected. They were the Psy Group, according to Cambridge Analytica, was the black operations component of Cambridge Analytica's election influence arm. And of course, he and General Hayden were on the board of that, right? Of Wikistrat, which everything I've heard, Wikistrat is just like a honeypot for journalists. Okay. Which kind of makes sense. But then you go over to, back to Clear Force, which is owned by General Jones and General Hayden. Again, Hayden's Obama's CIA director. And you'll see that they list on their website all their major clients as being all like Fox News, CNN. I don't remember CNN. I'm not going to sit here and repeat them because there were some of them that all the major networks, but maybe a couple were listed there. And I'm thinking they probably have those and haven't put them up, but literally are their clients, which means General Hayden and General Jones, the same people controlling Facebook, which inherently Facebook controls the media anyway, because all they have to do is threaten MSNBC or Fox News to deplatform them. And, they'd probably get what they want anyway, right? So, I don't know. I'm running on with these things.
No, sorry. I'm just watching stuff, waiting for my computers to explode. It's been really good. It's like I'm waiting for.
If anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll be glad to answer them. Right?
You like Rudy Giuliani? That's not going to go down well.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you is my truth. Right? You want me to fucking lie?
Well, if
I thought for 1 second he did something that was dishonest or wrong, in front of me, I would say it, even though
in
part
front of you,
the time I'm under NDA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's to do with 9/11 and cover up and
okay.
his direct involvement.
I don't know what he did before that, and please don't go looking at the shit I did before that. Although I was a pretty good guy.
Did you cover up a mass murder of 3,000 people? Because that's what he assisted with. Particularly when he was signing off on sending all that evidence to China, he was directly involved in the cover up.
I see that's all we got.
Well, I'm just saying.
This issue right here, right now, and there's a reason everybody that I'm saying is bad is attacking him.
Well, look, I mean, that's something to look at. I'm always intrigued when someone it's like Cambridge Analytica is literally eviscerated, and yet Denology and General Jim Jones, there's not a breath, there's not a word, there's nothing. I'm intrigued. They went after Bannon, and Bannon got no press. I was the only one pushing. Have you listened to Bannon? All my little lefty friends would, Bannon, and then other right-wing friends, it's a designer. I said, but listen, he's going after Rothschild, City of London, Bilderberger, Party at Davos, Kissinger. I've never heard anyone go after Kissinger. And he did it for 3 solid months, and then finally, boom. Kissinger appears in the White House in March 2020, and 4 weeks later, he's indicted on crimes. And also, there's something else. I'll go into it later with people. I don't want to talk about it now, but there's a few people contacted me. I was invited to the monastery, people. Bannon knows. All right. I'm not here to give a love fest for Bannon. All right. I'm just telling you, when you look at his behavior at his level, when he's trying to get rid of Jared and Ivanka, the 2 Russian Israeli spies out of the White House, and according to the book by Vicky Ward, he told her, Ivanka, to get effed, to go F herself in the Oval Office in front of Trump. And he thought, well, that's it for me. I'm done. I don't care. I've had enough. And Trump said, according to the accounting of Bannon, sweetheart, why don't you and Jared go back to New York? Now, these are all the stuff I'm reading, which I wish I'd read 2 years ago when the books first came out, because it's very, very interesting about the dynamics of the White House. It looked like Trump was sort of sitting there. It's like he can't get rid of him. He's not allowed. He's saying, oh, God, I wish I could get rid of my daughter and son-in-law. What the hell's going on? The dynamics in there were bizarre. I watched, like we just said, Denology Cambridge Analytica is getting done, but Denology is not being touched. I'm watching no one give Bannon any credit, whether you love or hate him. For God's sake, he's going after Kissinger in the city of London.
Let me, okay, so I have one issue that I need to clear up with Bannon, and that is, his relationship to Mike Cernovich. You've seen the video, I believe, that I posted online of Mike Cernovich boasting about having blackmail video or blackmail information on Trump staffers and DC journalists and even YouTube influencers.
So the Office of Naval Intelligence is doing their job. That's well done.
He was threatening all of those people on YouTube in a broadcast I recorded with my cell phone.
I saw it. But wasn't he angry because Trump wasn't protecting them? He was doing nothing to stop
he was
the
angry because Trump wasn't protecting. Yeah, he wasn't protecting Bannon. So did Bannon have any? Now, I personally give Bannon more credit than to assume he told some dumbass like Mike Cernovich to go out on a bizarre rant threatening the president and his staffers with blackmail on YouTube. I'm pretty sure Bannon didn't call that one. But what did he do after it happened is what I need to know to determine what kind of a person Bannon is or his involvement in this. Because if Bannon
Bannon ain't no Catholic saint, I assure you.
Problem, he's making it worse.
Bannon is no Catholic saint, far from it. He's not looking too well lately. He looks like he's popping a few Adderall. I'm just saying there seems to be a very strange thing going on the internet where one thing is highlighted and the other thing which you're waiting, well, this is going to be highlighted. Nothing. Dead. Total suppression. Anyway,
yeah,
but
anyway,
on Cernovich, clearly the Office of Naval Intelligence is doing its job and blackmailing people.
Well, that's I'm sorry, that's Jack Posobiec. He was Navy PAO, right? According to reports, every report I've read. So Navy PAO, IIA supports PAO. It says so on their website. Why do you have to? Is it a conspiracy theory when you can go to their website and see these people, what these people are doing? Is it a problem? Should it be an issue for you that General Hayden and General Jones, Obama's national security advisor and Obama's CIA director, are to have some determination algorithmically in this minority report like predictive analytics application called ClearForce that determines what journalist keeps their job, gets a job, loses their job, right? At these in the mainstream media industrial complex. So that's problematic. And I've already pointed out well before they posted on their website that these were their clients and that they are, in fact, their HR are, in fact, their clients. Oh, and by the way, ClearForce puts right on their site. Again, it's not a conspiracy theory when you can go to the website and literally it shows you that they monitor employees' communications both inside and outside the workplace. Right. And so these are journalists. So just assume that ClearForce is going to, by their own admission, have pretty high level access to everything, all the communications, emails, and potentially more, both, I would assume, overtly and covertly, being that ClearForce was built from the taxpayer funded core of the shadow net. Right. This is problematic, people. But once this gets exposed, once this gets into the legal system, that thin thread that they have is all broken, right? And we will get back our representative democracy as fucked up as it was to begin with, but we'll be able to make our own stupid decisions based on actual facts and not stuff that Steve PIECZENIK or other people want to either, fabricate. You saw in his bizarre rant that he says was true. He literally says that he thanks Julian Assange for releasing the emails they provided him. Right. And I'd been calling out, look at the connection to Wikistrat, right? and General Jones and General Hayden. We talked about that earlier, and you got the connection to Wikistrat with Jamal Khashoggi, right? So this goes deep, my friends. This isn't just Alex Jones, right? But I need your help. Can I ask again? You can go to freedomstream.tv. You can click up at the top, the Shadowgate civil lawsuit fund. It is my lawsuit fund.
Just to clarify,
it doesn't involve Millie.
just to clarify,
It doesn't involve Gavin. It doesn't involve Tory. And it's not just to spite them or anything.
Just to clarify with everyone,
I'm defending my honor.
I know. I said this from the start.
Yes, sir.
I already knew that Patrick Bergy liked Giuliani. And I knew, oh God, if he says that on the thing, I'm going to get it. The bottom line is, my gut tells me Bergy's okay. I think it's worth pursuing. I think getting people on the record in sworn depositions, even if the court doesn't allow it and the judges are corrupt, well, great. We'll have the judges on the record stopping it. It may not benefit us now.
Have we left out a judge? This is important. I don't like to interrupt you. Let's leave out Chief Justice Roberts, because Lynn Wood has brought out a credible whistleblower. I can't think of his name or anything, right? But that whistleblower said, Lynn Wood, a very powerful attorney, said was credible. It has on record depositions. It's all done. That person had seen evidence showing a blackmail that somebody had on Chief Justice Roberts. Okay. Now remember that name because those CIA files and that guy claims that it was connected to Isaac Cappy, who committed suicide off a 20-foot bridge, apparently, right after he said that he had CIA files and a dead man switch and such, right? So Linwood comes out, has a dead man switch, has the key, the encryption keys to be able to open up the files. This guy said apparently that he saw. This is all in my affidavit. This is going into the court system. We're going to get an answer because January of 2020, I submitted my affidavit that had everything in it that except for the stuff that happened after Shadowgate, right? Now, when Gavin first reached out to me, it was because they had saw the stuff that I had filed a KETAM whistleblower lawsuit in Washington, D.C., January 2020 during the impeachment. Took the train there. My Patreon supporters helped me get there. Thank you very much, all of you, right? And that got Gavin and Millie's attention. They're like, hey, we got to talk to this guy. Well, one of the things that I had done in that is I had handwritten, you can hardly read it, but they could read it, an emergency motion relief requesting that Chief Justice Roberts, who was overseeing the impeachment trial at that time, get a copy of my affidavit showing that so many people involved with the impeachment of Trump's first impeachment, so many people involved with those were directly in my affidavit, my KETAM, right? I don't know if he ever got a copy, but we need to find that out. And I think through my InfoWars lawsuit, we might be able to get on record whether or not Chief Justice Roberts ever saw it. Now, okay, let's say he didn't. The complaint that I have, or the emergency motion for relief that I submitted, was removed or rejected, but without prejudice, meaning that it had merit, but that the judge wouldn't let me go forward without an attorney. Okay, I didn't have a freaking attorney. There's no way I had to take the train, right? I live on VA disability, no, couldn't do that. So, the law, Chief Justice Roberts is connected in two places, right? Chief Justice Roberts is connected with literally an emergency motion relief. If I find out that he had seen it, then somebody was behind the fake indictment of Millie Weaver in April of 2020, a few months later. And it would have had to have been somebody high in the court system to be able to put all that together. It was all fake, fabricated in the arrest. And had she done that a few minutes later, she would probably still be in jail right now. Her family would have probably been they tried to take her kids away. But thank God, it was like God intervened. And she was able to raise enough money to be able to get her out of jail. And other people, including our attorney, the attorney I'm using right now, Kelly, was a major part in helping Millie get out of jail.
Did you say that the paperwork was available? Can you give the address, or just email me the address so I can make sure all the links are there?
freedomstream.tv. You can click on there and go to the Shadowgate Civil Lawsuit Fund. All the information's there that I have right there. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, because of what I'm to go, Bergies, people are going to.
Robert.
You've got a good chance of getting Pumpkinhead and others on the record. One other thing, do you have Owen Schroyer in there? Because he was the one that interviewed PIECZENIK for the big one, where PIECZENIK said, by the way, a military coup has taken place. We've discussed this with all the generals. Will you be using that footage as part of additions? Or
no more spoiler alerts?
Okay.
Like I said, this involves so many people. Absolutely, it involves many directly at InfoWars, right? It involves many outside of InfoWars that were involved in these pretty serious what I believe are treasonous crimes, right? Again, even if they thought that even if you're on the side of they had some sort of a justification to do it because the Clintons had so totally corrupted our government that our three systems could not defend itself, and a bunch of retired generals who were profiting tremendously from this with their DC lobby firms were going to save our democracy in some sort of like idiocracy like plan to install Alex Jones as the person that these generals wanted to save our republic.
Oh, and Nick Fuentes and Catboy, don't forget those two.
Okay, right. So no, the list is too long. I'm just sorry, right? So no, I'm not sure where they got this playbook. It's not in the War College. It's the same people on both sides. There's like the same puppeteers controlling both sides. So just like they control all of the assets across the mainstream media, not just in the US. Think about it. I just got back to America.
Well, I think that one of the keys, Pat, is we've got to be able to talk, and I can't toss you away because you like Rudy Giuliani. It's not enough for me at the moment.
Did I say I like
no. Well, whatever. He's been nice. The point is, I think
about my engagement with Rudy Giuliani.
I know, but I think
you're being more accurate.
Public perception is everything, and
I'm not going anything into his personal life.
Let me finish. You don't have to defend yourself. What I'm trying to say is this:
remember, love it either way.
I agree. And anyone who says you by saying that are helping yourself, you're not, which should actually say that you're being natural, not a fraud. Because clearly, let me remember, I'm in a vulnerable position. I rely on people to give me money to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I cannot condone. I think Rudy Giuliani should be shot for treason. That is my personal view. And I'm just telling you, I could talk to you for hours about what he did post 9/11 and was directly involved in the cover up of 3,000 dead Americans and that terrorist attack. No ifs, no buts, totally sexually compromised. I think he's a piece of shit. I just have to clarify that. Regardless, I'm still going to speak with you. I believe you for real. Even when we disagree, I'm just sorry. That is my gut. And clearly, if you were an IAA asset, you wouldn't be saying, oh, Rudy Giuliani's been okay to me. We've signed in. You wouldn't do that. The point, but I need to clarify that. But two, for my audience as well as yours, to get people to support you and what you're doing. And there's going to be people that are just going to, it's a waste of time. In which case, if you think it's a waste of time, what are you doing here on the posting away on the, and we're going to give you a chance to ask some questions, by the way.
Sure.
But I need to ask you this question. Once you understand that it's a matter that is notorious, and I should have been onto this, and shame on me. I should have known this 2 years ago. Henry Kissinger was in the White House from the beginning and was advising Jared Kushner from the beginning. And according to 2 separate books, Vicky Ward and Michael Wolff, and Michael Wolff's book is not as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it would be a orange man bad, orange man involved in Russian oligarchs and drug money laundering. I've heard a lot before. I know all about it, so I didn't bother with it. It's actually not as bad as I thought. I thought it was actually okay. But one of the things that came out was that Kissinger was there the whole time, and Donald Trump wanted him at one stage as Secretary of State, and Kissinger wanted Kushner as Secretary of State after he got some wins under his belt. Now, with that in mind, and with Donald Trump running, the whole Trump admin running on cleaning out the swamp, if you run as the president, if John Kennedy ran on cleaning out organized crime, and then put John Gotti was in the White House advising, your credibility goes to zero. At what point do we hold Trump accountable for who he has in his administration? At what point? Because Jared Kushner, a literal agent for a foreign power, Russia and Israel, literal, also being advised by Henry Kissinger. That to me is almost unforgivable.
So, I'm not going to sit here. I can't sit here and say that what you're saying is either true or false. I don't know, right? I don't know, right? If I had more time in the day to look closer into other things, I would either at that point be able to have a conversation with you where I say, well, I agree with what you're saying because there's a lot of information over here, or I disagree because I did look into this but I can't, right? I can say what my personal experiences are on things. I can say what I see and take as being credible sources myself. And when it comes to Jared Kushner, I know nothing about him. When it comes to Ivanka Trump, I've never seen her do anything that was even remotely like terrible, right? And so, and you're going to sit there and say, well, she did this, and I'm not going to be able to argue it because I'm not going to be able to sit here and defend or know exactly what you're talking about. But anything I've ever seen with her says otherwise, right? So, and she seems like a good professional individual, and so I don't know, right? And you can like hate me for that. I don't know why. People hate me for less. People hate me for more. So,
all right, that's enough. That's enough. We've said it. I've aired it. We'll work on you. It's all right. We'll take you to the camp and re-education camp. All right. Right. Why don't we take some questions? Anyone got an intelligent question? Don't say he's a Jew. Don't say just dancing Israelis 9/11. We know. We'll work on it. Anyone got a good, thoughtful, insightful question? Dual citizens, traders, yes. To a point, yes. Just so you know, too, Julian Assange was involved with the KGB since the mid-1990s by Pengo and East German Stasi intelligence. So, I mean, little Julian, I don't know, I can't quite work Assange out. I think a lot of it is, as an Australian, I know his mindset. But he was out of control.
Hey, while we're still rolling and you're looking for that stuff.
What are the chances that, is it a reasonable chance with a reasonable judge, which does happen? People, look, sometimes you do get a reasonable judge, even highly corrupt cases, which my friend's involved in, and I'm talking corrupt. We got footage you wouldn't believe. You can still get justice. You can still get a good judge. What are the chances of getting Pumpkinhead, Mr. Alex Jones of InfoWars, in a video deposition? Is it off the cuff? It sort of seems
well, it's going to have to happen. But even more importantly, when you talk about a judge, judges are subject to the court of public opinion, correct?
Yes, that's the key. It's the key.
Learned that when I redid my civics class.
It is the key.
Well, they are the court of public opinion. What controls the court of public opinion? The media, everything that this case, remember what I said, go back to the fact that the day this case is filed, all the teleprompters are going to lose their ability to operate with impunity, being controlled by the Atlantic Council and other organizations like that are controlled by these fucking retired generals and CIA directors and people like that. And this is going to, the second that gets filed, they no longer control the court of public opinion, which controls the judges you're talking about. Truth gets a chance, and that's all I want.
Well, these things have to be done. Look, Pat, let's keep talking. We'll get the links and I'll post them to the community section on my YouTube channel and of course on my Patreon. And I like to see these sort of things. Look, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. Don't be so negative, please. And please don't come on my Patreon. Don't come in my comments. I don't like defeatists. If you're defeatist, just quit the internet and go and build a bunker. That would be the logical thing, particularly if you're in America. Let us at least try. That's all I'm saying. So I'll leave it to others. Thanks again. Thank you to everyone over here on the which one's that? I can't transfer.
On the I'll be on the IRN broadcast. Hey, can you say you're listening to the American Awakening on IRNbroadcast.com.
You're listening to American Awakening on IRNbroadcast.com.
Yes.
Good on you, mate.
I got that. Awesome.
All right.
Gonna be used. They've been bugging me to put one of those little trailers. I got
all
one.
right. No, you got to do it. I've got to get organized too. I've been so lazy. But hey, look, let's talk again soon. Thank you to everyone, and I'm glad I didn't abuse you this time. We'll get all this sorted out. I'm slightly optimistic for some reason. We got through June. June was going to be a very interesting month. Let's see what happens. Thanks, Pat.
I'll keep it interesting for you. I promise that. If nothing less, if you're not having some fun in your job, you're in the wrong business.
All right, Manny. Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, boss. Out here.